From July 1979 till May 1981, at least 28 children, adults, and adolescents were found dead in the city of Atlanta during some of the darkest days of Atlanta's history as a city, and certainly in terms of the social and economic and political impact of those dark days in the late 1970s to early 1981. We are joined here today on the Atlanta News First digital desk by Janis Mann, who is with the Mann Law Group in Newnan, Georgia, and she is the new attorney for Wayne Williams, who was convicted in 1982 of two of the so-called infamous Atlanta child murders. On yesterday, Tuesday, several family members of those victims went before local television news cameras throughout here in Metro Atlanta and called on the DNA test results that were recently ordered by former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms to finally be released. Janis Mann is the attorney for Wayne Williams, as I said, who was convicted of two of those murders. And, Janis, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about why it has, from your perspective, why has it taken so long for the city of Atlanta officials to release the DNA results? Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, former mayor, in March 2019, reopened the cases in hopes of uncovering new evidence that would lead to the conviction or possible convictions of some of those unsolved murders. And July 2021, the former mayor said that DNA test results would be sent to a lab in Utah, and that's been well over a year now. From your standpoint, why is it taking so long for these DNA test results to be released?
I have absolutely no answer for you. That is the million-dollar question. There is no justifiable reason why these families have no answers after 42 years. There's no reason why Wayne Williams has been in custody for all of this time and we still have no answers. DNA evidence, forensic evidence has come so far in the last 40 years that I see no justifiable reason why we have no answers from the city and from the district attorney's office. We had a whole lot of pomp and circumstance when they announced that they were reopening these cases. The announcements were made that we care about these children. These children were not forgotten. We had an announcement that there was groundbreaking made on the memorial, which I was told has not even been finished yet. I didn't have the opportunity to go down there and see it yet, but to hear that absolutely breaks my heart, and my heart goes out to these families. I represent Mr. Williams, and I'm here to represent his interests, but my heart goes out to these families, and I'm hoping to get answers on their behalf as well. This DNA was sent to this lab in Utah over a year ago, and yes, every lab is backed up, understood. But this is a lab that was paid by whose funds, I'm not sure, but I'm sure, state government funds over a year ago, a special private lab. And we haven't heard any updates. Not only were these two DNA samples sent out to a lab over a year ago, but former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announced that all of the fivers were being reexamined. And when she reopened these cases in March of 2019, her announcement included that over 40% of the evidence in the boxes had already been meticulously reinvestigated. That was in 2019. What is our update? How much of that evidence has been reinvestigated at this point? We deserve an update. Those families deserve an update.
Now, from your standpoint, has the city of Atlanta law enforcement actually received the DNA test results? Are those DNA test results actually completed from what your understanding is?
No one has given me any direct answers. All I have gotten since I have filed my entry of appearance on Mr. Williams' behalf is an absolute runaround. Go talk to the city of Atlanta. No, go talk to the district attorney's office. Utah lab, we can't say anything about anything. It's an absolute runaround. No one wants to answer any questions, and it's frustrating for me. And so I can only imagine how the families feel that they were promised 40 years later that their children matter and that they were going to be given answers, and they're receiving nothing. And, so much time has passed, and this is a blemish, to put it mildly, on the city of Atlanta. And I've lived here for a long time, and I'm not an Atlanta native, but I am a proud resident of this state. And we have come too far in 40 years in terms of politics and as a society and as a community. We have come too far to still be in this place. It is time to stop hiding behind the misdeeds of people in the past and wrongdoings. It is time to clear the past. It is time to do the right thing. And it is time to tell the secrets of the past and clear the wrongdoings and tell the truth about what happened and move forward.
Have you had conversations with any of the victims' families in your capacity? You're fairly new, relatively speaking, to this case. You are Wayne Williams' new attorney. Tell me, have you had any conversations with him and what feelings has he expressed to you on behalf of the families of the victims?
I've had numerous conversations with Mr. Williams. He honestly surprised me because he's not full of anger whatsoever. His heart hurts for the families who don't know what happened to their children, and I really respect that about him. And his desire to have this investigation closed so that the families actually know what happened to their children. And I was honestly surprised by the number of families that reached out to my office after I made the announcement that I was representing him, because numerous family members reached out to me, extended family members, and thanked me profusely for taking on the case at this point, and said that they thought that their children had long been forgotten and that no one had worked on the case in so long, that they were extremely thankful for me for taking this on and asked me to not give up, that they felt that there was still political pressure to keep the past hidden and forgotten and not get to the truth. And they asked me to not be intimidated. Those words were actually used. And to keep up the fight and find the truth. And that they supported Wayne and that they did not believe he was guilty. And asked me to keep pushing forward until we actually got the answers.
Wayne Williams, your client, was convicted in February 1982 of two of the associated murders that are commonly called the Atlanta child murders. No other charges, to my knowledge, have ever been brought in those remaining cases. What was it about his case, or this just dark chapter in Atlanta's history, that brought your attention to the case, and why did you become involved with this case?
Well, I had very little knowledge about the case. I choose not to follow media in Georgia because I never want to have preconceived notions about cases when a client hires me. And so the only thing I knew about this case was that his guilt had long been disputed. And someone who had been assisting him reached out on social media and said that they had reached a dead end with a case in Fulton County. And they did not know any traditional legal methods to move forward on the case, and that in essence that they felt that this person had been abandoned by their prior attorney and they didn't know where to turn. And when they explained that basic outline, I said, this is a Fulton County case, and they hadn't named the defendant. And I said, this sounds like a perfect case for the Conviction Integrity Unit in Fulton County. That unit was designed for cases that have exhausted traditional appellate methods. And so I strongly suggest that you go that route. I thought the person was an attorney, but she was not. And so when I spoke with her, she told me about the case and gave me the details and brought me up to speed. And in fact, Mr. Williams has not exhausted all traditional appellate methods in his case. That being said, the previous district attorney in Fulton did say that he planned for the Conviction Integrity Unit to review Mr. Williams' cases.
When Wayne Williams was convicted, he was basically convicted on really no other evidence other than fibers and dog hairs that were found on a couple of the victims that were actually traced back to him. There was really no other evidence, circumstantial or otherwise, to my recollection, that led to his conviction. Is there any suspicion on your part that says, you've been trying hard and very persistently to have the city release these DNA test results? Is there any suspicion on your end or those of the families or even your client that the reason the delays are taking this long is perhaps that there would be some new evidence come out that would cast suspicion on Wayne Williams' conviction? Do you have that suspicion at all?
I don't have any doubt that the evidence that they have received back from the lab shows anything. There's no evidence that points to his guilt. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. The very worst, in my opinion, that evidence could show if they've received it back is that it's inconclusive. And I think that even if the evidence were that quote unquote bad, that they would have released it already. So I'm not sure what the results are, but it certainly doesn't help the city of Atlanta or the Fulton County District Attorney's Office in my mind, because if it did, they would have released it already.
If you can, share some of the emotions that you have experienced when talking with some of the families of the victims. Are they restless? Are they suspicious? I mean, obviously this is an unimaginable tragedy that these families have been enduring. Or have you met with grandfathers, grandmothers, parents, siblings, friends? Share with some of us the emotions that you've encountered.
The emotions that it seems to me that the family members are experiencing is hurt, frustration, betrayal. Those are the three strongest emotions that I would say that they have. And also exhaustion. This has been ongoing for so long. I think that they feel exhausted and betrayed. I think that when the announcements were made by City of Atlanta and the District Attorney's Office, I think that they did feel encouraged. With the memorial for the children and them reopening the cases, I think that some of them did feel encouraged and did feel hope that something would finally happen, that they would finally receive the truth. And I think they certainly feel forgotten and betrayed all over again. And that hurts my heart. I think that we have come so far in the last 40 years that we're at a place where we can move past the political reasons why it was important that someone be framed for these murders, and why it was important that someone go to prison for these murders, and why it was important that they blame one person for the murders when there was really no pattern or general modus operandi for all of these murders to actually tie them together.
We're wrapping up our conversation here on Atlanta's News First Digital Streaming Desk with Janis Mann. She is the attorney for Wayne Williams, who is currently serving life in prison for 2 convictions in Atlanta's infamous child murders from 1979 until 1981. Final thoughts, what do you think will happen in this case? What do you hope will happen? Do you have any thoughts as when the City of Atlanta will release these DNA test results? We did reach out to Atlanta Police yesterday on Tuesday, and we simply got a 1-sentence response. The investigation is ongoing at this time. What do you think will happen? What do you hope will happen in this case?
My hope is that my client obviously will be exonerated of all charges. I also hope that the families will receive the answers that they have been waiting for so many years, and that they will receive the information about who actually hurt their children and kill their children. I'm hoping we can finally close this chapter without any additional delay. I wish I could predict when that was going to happen and how it was going to happen, but that's not something that I have the capability to do. I can't foretell the future.
Janis Mann, attorney from Wayne Williams. Thanks for joining us on Atlanta News First Digital Desk. Thanks to all of you for watching.
Thank you so much.